What's up guys, this is Commander Jaime here, bringing you a Messiah deck profile. Went to locals with this fairly recently and I got second place, pretty cool. And most of you are probably thinking, why Messiahs? In fact, why Lane Joker at all, since, you know, I usually do Waka Force or Grand Blue or any of those other clans, you know. It's just like, the story behind it is just basically, after Lambros came out, this Messiah set came out right after, and I wanted to see what I was gonna face, because it was Lane Joker. And I ended up liking them. The very fact that they can do like multiple attacks, and then they don't really rely on your opponent's field is what really put the torque to them. So, going to start off with the Forerunner, Neon Messiah. Essentially, basically, when it unlocks and its generation break, you can put it into stall, search for a grade 3 graded Messiah. Basically, the other starter was kind of to enable more locks when you couldn't before, but now that you have like a bunch of cards that lock themselves, and then with Arrestor Messiah, you can even lock your opponent's back row. I felt like the other Forerunner wasn't necessary, and I felt like this was more better. So if you misrolled, you can actually search for the grade 3 Messiah that you wanted, which is Alter Ego. So that's why I stuck with him. So, playing 4 of the Alter Ego. He's the one guy you really want to be on. His Generation Break 2 skill is really good. When a lock card is unlocked, you pay the cost, which is Soul Blast 1, and you draw a card. And it's an auto, so if multiple cards unlock, you can activate it multiple times in sequence, and then you just draw a bunch of cards, essentially. And his on-stride skill, basically, is that you Counter Blast 1, lock one of your rear guards as cost, and then you choose up to one of your opponent's rear guards and lock it, and then you get +5 to your Vanguard. So you can still do the skill, even if they don't have rear guards. You just lock one of your own and just CB, and you get the +5. It's just there to help you have lock stuff, so you can unlock it stuff, and they're in the battle phase with like Amnesty Messiah, for example, or Flagellant. He's really good. My ideal first turns was to go into like Flagellant and basically make him GB2, and so I would unstride first, and then once my cards unlocked that turn, I would draw like 2 to 4 cards on average that turn, depending on how many cards I was able to get locked. And what's kind of cool is that basically I put whatever on the field as rear guards, I'm going to get that many back from drawing. So it was kind of nice to have that. So he's really good, and he keeps you hand advantage up there. And as a backup, grade 3, I'm playing the Joe Monk or the Fierce Foot. He's neat. I realized that he was in Generation Break, or at least the first skill was. And the first skill is basically you choose one of your rear guards and lock it, and then your opponent chooses one of their own rear guards and they lock it, and then whatever unit they lock in the same column as yours, you lock another rear guard of yours. So essentially you lock 2 of yours to lock one of them, or if you play it kind of smart, depending on your situation, you can do it without worrying to lock another card. So you lock 1 for 1. It's not bad. It's really good as a rear guard. Vanguard, you really don't want to ride him as Vanguard because you want Alter Ego anyway, but he still can lock stuff, so it's not bad. The other effect he has is GB1, and when he attacks, you can Omega Lock one of your cards to get +2. And I rarely did that, but it doesn't matter when you Omega Lock your cards because you're probably going to just unlock them anyway with your Vanguard. So it was kind of like free, essentially. And you can make some numbers with basically the draw trigger or Sacrifice Messiah, giving it power, so it hits 16k. And I think that's what it's there for, in case you block the back row that this guy's on. So, not bad. So then, grade 2s, for Arrestor and Messiah. He's really good. When you have a Messiah Vanguard and he's placed on rear, he gains the red text and +2k, so it becomes an 11k. And then the red text is basically at the end of the battle, lock this card and then choose a rear guard in the back row and lock it. So you can lock your back row, or you can lock their back row, and he's just another enabler essentially for you to unlock more stuff, just to get a much easier amnesty. And what's really good is that you can lock your whole column, and then when you unlock it, you have a brand new column. And most of the time, it's like a 7k booster. So essentially, when you unlock it, it's 16k column, which is not bad, but not great. But still, you can put triggers on it if you really want to, just depending how many rear guards you unlocked, and can continue doing more battles. I generally try to do on average 4 battles if I can, without wasting too many resources. Otherwise, I would just do 3 or 5 battles depending on the situation, really. The turns that I really will only do 3 battles, I would just mainly leave my cards locked, so that way at the end of the turn I just draw cards with Alter Ego. So Arrest is really good. Next, guys, is the Lady Battler of the Black Dwarf. She's really good. I found her flexible too. Basically, at the end of the battle, when she attacks Vanguard, you can choose one of your other rearguards and it gets +5, and you lock this unit. So it's another, I guess, lock enabler, you can say. And why I say flexible is because you can do it anytime technically. You can do it before you unlock your rearguards to get another tag, or you could do it at the last battle, and you would just get an extra draw with Alter Ego Messiah. So in that sense, she's flexible. And it made it easier to do like Amnesty Messiah or Flagellate Messiah or XLX Messiah's skills, because it's just another card that locks itself. So if you didn't have Arrestor, you had her at least. And then the other grade 2s is the Lady Battler of the Gravity Well. She's free. GB1, once per turn, choose one of your rearguards and lock it, and then this card gets +4. So if you locked another rearguard and then you had basically sacrifice Messiah and seize it, you can give it an additional +3k from sacrifice's skill. So it becomes a 16k. So that was one of the neat plays you can do. So you wouldn't like hurt your effectiveness before you like unlock your cards, kind of thing. And she can lock not as many cards, but she help you increase the number of times you can lock a card per turn if you didn't have like a Arrestor Messiah or the Black Dwarf. And she's free, so I think that's pretty good. I mean, there's other cards like the other monk that unlocks when it attacks, but the way that the deck structure is to lock your stuff and have your Vanguard unlock your stuff, basically. So it kind of like contradicted, and so that's why I kind of like chose to play this card over the monk that unlocks stuff during the battle phase. Grade 1s. For Stride Fodder, Destiny Dealer. Basically, Stride Fodder, you want to stride. It's also the searcher for Messiah, so that way you can always like perfectly ride it. Not really much to say. You want to stride for sure, the stride deck. And then I play the 4 on Flip PG. Sometimes you need it. You may not have Mask Chameleon or Sacrifice Messiah to get the free counter charge, essentially. So this helps if you really need to. And most of the time, I really don't even care about my rearguards. So having this is not bad, and is usually more useful than a regular PG. So that's why I play Cosmo Reef. So this is where it gets a little weird. I wanted to play 4 Sacrifice Messiahs and 2 of the Chameleons, and then 7 grade 3s, but I couldn't find more Sacrifice Messiahs, so I had to make do with 8 grade 3s, 3 Chameleons, and only 2 Sacrifice Messiahs. Basically what Sacrifice does is that GB1, when this card sees another card, basically gets locked, you can lock this if you have a grade 3 Messiah. You unflip and give +3 to another unit, so it's another lock enabler. And what's neat is that it gives +3 to something, and you can abuse that on your opponent's turn using the G-Guard Maxwell. And so that way your Vanguard is 14k base basically, and it really shuts down decks that have poke attacks, Aqua Force, Novas, Effers, and then Gear Chronicle, for example. So I wish I had more copies, and I did face Gear Chronicle, and it probably would have helped for sure. We'll get into that in the matchup discussion, but yeah. And then Chameleon's there because you still want to play him because I resist. So if you're facing against like Kagero or Murakami or even like, yeah, pretty much that's the only clans you're worried about. They kill your stuff, and this doesn't really get killed. If it gets like stunned or gets locked, it's just like, well, if it's stunned, I lock it, and it's not stunned anymore. And then if it's locked, it's a locked card, and I can use that to my benefit anyway. So that was the the thing I wanted to do, but due to card availability, I can only do 2 sacrifice. So I recommend playing more sacrifices just for like that power play you can do on your opponent, and it can do plays during your turn. As I mentioned, if you like, let's say you lock the chameleon, this sees it, it gives +3 to another unit on your turn, so you can do it on the Lady Battler, basically, to make her a 16k. You could also do it on the other monk dude, the grade 3, and that gives them +3, and so when he does this attack, he'll mega lock something, he becomes a 16k as well. So he can make help make numbers too for your regards on your turn. So he's useful offensively and defensively. So yeah, that's pretty much for the grade 1s. And then for the trigger lineup, 4 heals because you want to heal. It's also the nice art. I like this art. It's the Star-vader art. For the Messiah crit, it's the one that basically goes into soul and you draw a card and gives the Vanguard +5 if it has Messiah in the name. It's really useful in this deck because you actually use the soul to get advantage back. And what's kind of cool is that essentially people don't like some of these guys' effects because, like, I'm going to lose a 10k shield to draw something I don't know if it's worth guarding with, like another 10k shield, for example. But when you do that with Alter Ego, it technically gives you a +1. So you can get 2 new cards after, you know, putting it on the field and putting it into Soul, essentially. So it's actually not bad in this deck, so it helps. So that's 4 crit for now, and then 4 more crit, and it's the Star-vader one. And neat trick, I think his name was Daniel Middlesworth. He's the one that recently won California in one of the locks, and he actually was the Continental Champion of the US this time, recently. And he played Messiahs in California, and he mentioned that you can actually shuffle him into deck, even if you don't have a Star-vader Vanguard, and it'll just basically, I'll put a crit back, just so I have more crits and I don't tank out. Which, I didn't do it all the time, but it did came in one game, and boy, it was pretty cool. Because after a while, you gain so much advantage that it's okay to lose 1 card, and it's like, if I can just lose 1 card and add a crit to my deck, so my drive check can be a crit potentially, and help me finish this game even faster, then why not, you know? And, so yeah. And what he does, the full effect, essentially, is that you put him in the top of your deck, and if you have a Star-vader Vanguard, and you have a lock card, if they have a lock card, lock one of their other cards, essentially, and then shuffle your deck. But you can't do the whole effect, so you basically top deck it, and then just shuffle it. So that's what happens. Pretty neat trick. I like it. I mean, there's no other crits really you can play over, besides like vanilla crits, for example. I'm playing 2 more crits, so I am playing 10 crit, and I decided to do different arts. So if in case, for some reason during the game, my opponent sees these 2, and then like the other crits, they would assume that more than likely I'm playing like 12 crit. So seeing 4 different crit arts, it makes the opponent like crap. They're probably going to play like a bunch of crit. So essentially that's what the idea was. And then finally, the 2 draw triggers. She's the Margot clone, put into soul +3 something. She also helps with the Alter Ego, so you don't really like neg. And once you like Soul Blast, it'll get you a card back anyway. So I like that, and it's helpful. And the reason I have 2 draws still was like I felt like Messiah still needed the extra draw sometimes. And with more 10 crit, with Alter Ego drawing, you're more likely to draw the crits over the draw triggers. So they're 10k shields over than 5k shields, that kind of thing. And worst case scenario, you could always like ditch it with like Strider, PG cost, or you use the effect, or just 5k guard or something. So, but yeah, so that's my trigger lineup. Now, Stride Zone. Another thing with card availability, I was only able to find 3 flagellants. I want to play 4, and everybody wants to play 4. So what it does is that Counterblast 1, choose a card in the G zone, flip it face up. When this attacks, you may pay the cost. And then for every copy of himself, you unlock 2 cards, and then you choose any number of locked cards, and you'll mega lock them. And then if you unlock 3 cards with this effect, it gets the usual plus crit. And so for example, if you only have 1 flagellant, face up in the G zone, you can only unlock 2. You can still Omega lock any lock cards, but you won't get the plus crit because you only unlock 2, essentially. And if you have 2 or more, you can unlock up to 4, or 3, or 2, or 0, whatever. And then because you unlocked 3 or more, then you get the crit. So that's how that works. And essentially, my first turn, I would try to first stride him, and I'll flip usually Amnesty Messiah, because like you really didn't have to like unlock stuff, and I was purposely doing that so my rear guards will lock themselves. And basically I would like draw at the end of the turn because he flips a card in the G zone, and he's not a generation break too, so you could do this first stride, unstride him, your card's unlocked, and you use Alter Ego's GB2 skill and draw a card for each of those. So ideally I wanted to do this first stride to get hand advantage to guard effectively and then have a powerful next turn. And then from there, you can do what's appropriate, because you got so many Messiah strides. You got like Big Crunch as well, things like that. And so, Amnesty and Messiah, I'm playing 2 at the moment. I was thinking of bumping up to 3. I'm still unsure of it, but basically, yeah. Amnesty is also a first stride potentially. You can just 100 attacks, counter blast 1, unlock 3, unlock as many cards as you can or want. And if you unlock 3 or more, it gets plus 3, and it gets plus 3k for every card unlocked. So on average, let's say you unlock 3, he's basically plus 9, and then if you are an Alter Ego, it's another plus 5, which makes it a 40k attack with crit. So that's still pretty good, and it's pressure, especially for stride. So if you really need to, or you can use this to pay the cost for Excelix or Flagellant, essentially. And I was playing only one Excelix. I felt like Excelix was one of those cards where you do it at the right moment, so I felt like I didn't need to. I still haven't felt that way, but I'm sure playing Messiah's a little more, I would think I might bump that up to 2 and then bump up Amnesty to 3, just to, I guess, equal out the cost, because essentially his cost is Counter Blast 1, flip an Amnesty if you already have an Amnesty in the G zone. Face up, and then you unlock as many cards as you can, and for every unlocked card that's yours, it gets plus 3, so your units get power, and if any of the cards that you unlock for your opponent, they get retired, so it kills their stuff. And then if you unlock 3 or more in total, it gets plus critical. So it's like a win-win kind of situation. So it's pretty good. My play though was like most of the time I was just trying to lock their stuff and also get advantage for myself and keep it locked. Otherwise, because like if you unlock and retire their stuff, some decks are like, okay, that's fine because I can now do my turn and do like a bunch of attacks with this one new front row open. So it might hurt you more than it hurts them, essentially. So that's why I felt like I could get away with one. And an example would be like Gear Chronicle. You don't want the front circles open at all. If you can't kill them, then next turn they're going to try to do multiple attacks if they can, especially with Metallica Phoenix or next stage. There's just more attacks you have to deal with, which means you lose more cards for guarding. Because I was missing one Flagellant, decided a weird tech. You don't have to play this. Chaos Universe, even though I don't play any Star-vader grade 3s. The idea with this is that you stride this over Alter Ego Messiah, and you still get Alter Ego's break stride skill. So if you can unlock one of your opponent's rear guards and you want to unlock another card, you can actually use the crit that I mentioned earlier, the Star-vader one, to lock something and actually shuffle it back. So at that point you can lock 2 cards that way. So I don't know what else to put. The other one was like the free on hit one, really, but that wasn't on hit, and I felt like they probably just would guard that, or it only it locks a back row, so sometimes they may not have enough back row and already by then have locked it. So it's kind of like, over redundant, I guess, in this way. And so I just stuck anything with Star-vader in the name, I guess, and I had Chaos Universe because I had, Chaos Breaker as well. So if I had another Flagellant, it would have been Flagellant. So it's a little funny tech. And then 2 Big Crunch. You want to Omega lock columns if you need to, depending on the matchups. If you see somebody have a full column and you really need to like lock that thing, this is the card to go. He's GB2, not really GB2, but he needs 2 cards in the face, in the G zone face up to resolve. So you kind of blast one into an act, and then you choose one of your opponent's rear guards, and basically you lock that column. So if one of them has resist, you choose the non-resist one, and it still locks the resist one because it technically wasn't chosen, because it says choose one of them and just lock the whole column, which is kind of nice. So it gets over it. But if the whole column has resist, you can't touch it. He flips out himself, and so I only played 2 because I felt like since Flagellant Omega locks, it was enough. And this is basically to start locking more cards than Omega locking, because Flagellant doesn't lock any units. It keeps them Omega lock, so that was the difference really. And I was just like, oh, I can't really get rid of Big Crunch because there might be times where I need to lock more stuff on my opponent's stuff, for sure. So Big Crunch was the way to go. This is another choice that could change. I've seen people not play this. I see people play this. It seems like a really good card because you can lock a whole field and unlock any locked units. But during the tournament, I may have used it only once, just so I wouldn't waste the Big Crunch. And it was okay. I wish it was a more impactful, but most decks now don't really have a full field to do a bunch of stuff, so it's not as strong. And the only other thing is that it does require the Messiah Heart. So if you're not on Alter Ego Messiah, you can't even use this, which I felt was like, oh, I can't. That's a potential liability. And so these might be the 2 cards I might actually swap out for another Amnesty or another XLX to fit in the G zone. So I brought that up. That was the concept behind it. And then once you breeze, because it's a generation break deck, you benefit if you have like 3 counterblasts for sure. You can do like Sabreeze the cost, and then do Alter Ego to lock stuff. And then you have an unflip engine anyway, like the Chameleon. You have the Sacrifice Messiah. You have PGGs that unflip. So his cost wasn't as heavy. So it makes your other cards live too. And if you're on Alter Ego, you're technically Messiah in the name. So you can play units like Arrestor Messiah and Sacrifice Messiah, anything that require Messiah in the name. So, you know, punish them basically and enable your place. G guards, 2 Maxwell and the 1 Destiny Guardian. He's really good for Messiahs, even though he's a Star-vader. So you lock one of your rear guards and it gets +5 essentially. And I believe it has to be the back row. If you do, yeah, you have to lock the back row. So if you lock Mass Chameleon and you have a Sacrifice Messiah, it can see it. It locks itself. You unflip for free, and you get +3 to like your Vanguard, and it becomes 14k base. And so that becomes basically a 34k turn basically, or battle. I mean, so it can make numbers. And then after that, your Vanguard's like, I'm 14k. Let's see what you can do, and you can technically even guard even less because you know it's higher than the 11k number. So that was pretty cool. And then Destiny Guardian was there. If you have like a bunch of locked cards anyway, you can unlock 2 and it gets free +10. It's much easier to do here because you can lock your stuff, and sometimes you Omega lock stuff with the monk, the grade 3. So you would have a locked card anyway, or you can like G guard with this first to lock something, and then the next battle or 2 you can use this to G guard and then unlock the card he locked. So they worked hand in hand in that order. But yeah. So I only played 1 because it's not as easy to pull off too, and most of the time I went into Maxwell anyway. And then the final G guard was the Screw You. Instead of playing a second like Destiny Guardian, I felt like Screw You was handy, and it didn't require rear guards to be locked. So Messiah gets enough hand advantage where it's like, oh, I guess I'll just like, you know, discard 1 card and get +10k. And that's why I played that one. I was thinking about Dismo, but I felt like I really didn't have to protect my rear guards because most of the time, like Arrestor Messiah, you want to get rid of it so you can call another one or another grade 2 or whatever to replace it because it's vanilla at that point and it's useless. So that's why. So with matchups, round 1, I faced the Nova Grapplers. Game 1 basically was grindy. I locked his front row so he couldn't do like multiple attacks. And I was careful on turns where basically I would leave him with 1 face-up damage and not 2 because he could Victa Plasma to restand a Vanguard. And that would just cause me to guard more and lose hand advantage even more. So the one turn he did, he had the crit that apparently goes into Soul and flips a card. So he did Victa Plasma on 1 turn anyway. And after that, you technically neg yourself 1 when you do Victa Plasma. So it didn't help his case against, the Link Juggler matchup. And I just won eventually. It was a long, grindy game. It was against my friend Andy. Pretty cool match. And then game 2 kind of sucked for him though. He got great stuck at 2. And so I wrote a grade 3 with Alter Ego Messiah. And I was just like, hitting him hard. And I think I even had the crit. So it's like you could hit a column with the crit and then just shove it back into Soul to draw another card. So it's like, well, it's one less regard they have to hit because he didn't want to give me more CB. So I couldn't do Sea Breeze. And eventually he just, lost to that. So I got that round. Round 2, I faced OTT. I haven't faced OTT in months, and so I kind of vaguely remember their exact effects. But game 1, I was falling behind. I was stuck at grade 2. I even re-rolled so he wouldn't Sea Breeze me. And then when my turn came to write grade 3, the only grade 3 I had was the Fierce Foot. So I misrolled, but it was an interesting scenario where I had a rear guard on my other column, so I locked it. And he chose one of his rear guards to lock in. He chose his Forerunner, so my Forerunner got locked. So in that scenario at that moment, I have 3 lock cards on the field, and I was just like, well, now I can just stride. Using the stride fodder, Amnesty Messiah. And he's at 2 damage, I might as well do some pressure. He either PGs it, so he doesn't have that much advantage, or he takes the hit and puts him to at least 4 damage. That was my thought. So I shot into Amnesty. Didn't have any rear guards or anything. This is just Vanguard attack, and that's all I got for at the moment. And I attacked at the skill on crit, 40k. He's like, I guess no guard, and I double crit him. Kind of felt bad, because, he went from 2 to 6 and no heal, and so he lost because of that. I get that Amnesty gets crit. That's cool, but when you, double crit on top of that, it's just, I don't know. It sometimes steals the game for you, I guess you can say. And some people like that. And sometimes I don't really like that. But it is what it is. And I keep forgetting that it's a 10 crit deck. So I'm going to see crits more often. So I was like, okay, I guess that's expected too. But yeah. In the game 2, as we were writing early game, I was basically seeing crits and my drive checks. And he got to the point where he's 5 damage on his first stride, and he used the regular on hit stride, I guess, and he tried to get some advantage back. And I was careful of him not getting too much advantage back, and my next turn I just did 4 or 5 attacks, and he couldn't guard it all, and he lost. So I got that. And then round 3 was Gears. It was my friend Miguel, and game 1 was kind of rough. I misrode, and the good thing about misriding is that since he made me go first, he would stride first technically. But since I misrode, I could actually lock the TikTok. So I did that. And his stride turn, he said that it did slow him down. I mean, he still got 4 or 5 attacks in, but it could have been much worse. I could have been that. And then the next turn, I couldn't do much. And I think I did an Amnesty play just to I'm crit, and he's like, no, I'm just gonna PG. There's no way I'm taking this. And since I wasn't an Alter Ego or anything, I couldn't get advantage back at all. And my hand was kind of weak from the prior turn, and he just next staged me. Or Metallica Phoenix me. I can't remember. But it was pretty much done. And then basically game 2, same thing happened. I misrolled, which really is a bummer because I feel like if I was on Alter Ego Messiah, it would have been a more better matchup, and it would have given more of a fight. And did the same thing, locked the TikTok. He didn't call any regards, so it was easier to lock the TikTok in my Forerunner. And it's okay. Basically, I had enough guard because I had 2 heals and a PG, but since by that turn he was on next stage, and I had to take one of the attacks, and he just double crits me. So that was that. So I lost the gears, and I even talked to him afterwards. I'm like, I felt like I didn't give him much of a fight because I was an alter ego Messiah. He's like, I agree. Wasn't feeling as much pressure, and so I lost that round essentially. And basically, round 4 was against Great Nature. It was my friend Eduardo. Game 1, he tried to give me an early rush. I was able to just guard one of them, and he didn't drive track any triggers. So I only took 2 damage, and it was manageable, I guess you can say. And then once we got to striding, both our decks, basically, we stride and we get hand advantage even more. Like, he will get like 5 cards or something like that. I'll get like 4 cards because of Alter Ego Messiah. We did that for a few turns, and eventually one of his drive tracks was just like bad. Like, I think it was 2 5k shields and a grade 3, and even though he drew like 2 or 3 cards that turn, I was just like, I'm thinking I could win this turn, and I broke through. Game 2, it was very similar. He basically drove check 2 grade 3s and a grade 2. And this was later in the turns, and he just immediately scooped. He said that he already knew he was going to be dead next turn because he couldn't guard that. It was basically a repeat of the prior game. And so I basically out-paced him in a sense because he drove check not good. So that's how he lost. And so I won that match, and that was the 4 rounds, and I got 2nd place. So that was that. So one of the things I wanted to say about Messiah is that it's much powerful and much scarier now with all the current support from GBT08, and Flagellant is really good. Basically the what do you call it? The grade 3 is good. The grade 2 is good, and it just works well with the deck, and you can get so much advantage right away, where you can just kind of not really grind your opponent, but it's just like there's no way that they're gonna break through you, like your defenses, as easily. And the fact that all your messiahs, like the strides, they all get crit or some way of getting crit, and they all each have their own scenarios where it's like I give Regards power, or I get myself power, or I'll make a lock your stuff. You don't have to worry about the Link Joker matchup because you are Link Joker, and if they lock your stuff, it benefits you even more because you're a Messiah anyway. It was a nice feeling where it's like, wow, I for once don't have to worry about the Link Joker matchup at all. Not even Chaos Breaker, where it's like you put 1 card from your hand and put it on the field locked. It's like, okay, I was gonna put it on the field anyway. And essentially, it's a good deck. And it's a much more budget now too, especially with the reprint of Amnesty. So you can play like the rare rarities. I was thinking of just picking up a rare rarity myself. And I'm going to be looking for probably 1 more Flagellant just to complete the deck. And there was moments in the tournament where the plus 3k for the Sacrifice Messiah came into clutch. Did also the drawing for Flagellant was really good, but there was a game I knew I wanted the 4th one. And so that's why I was like, yep, I'm going to get the 4th one. So it was all cool. Messiahs are fun. I give it that. You can do multiple attacks, and as a bonus, you can lock your opponent's stuff. I mean, what more can you really ask for? And you draw cards too. Oh, one more thing. This was one of the few decks that I can play more than 8 crit. Like, and it's effective. Like, I felt like 10 crit 2 draw was nice. I don't know if I want to keep pushing the crit number, but it's still scary. And the fact that you can get drive check crits even early on, it just hurts the opponent. Like, puts them far behind. So in a sense, it kind of helps your early game too. The other thing that I thought was the Star-vader, the freeze ray. I might try one of them just for like particular matchups. And he also has the Star-vader name, so the crit trigger becomes even more alive if your opponent has lock cards. So that's one thought. But other than that, that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you for watching, and hope to see you guys soon again. Merry Christmas. Remember to like, subscribe, and share, and see you guys next time. Thank you. Bye.